Throughout our entire history, so many ways have been invented for enemies to spy, from secret cameras and hidden microphones to satellites and undercover agents. During the Cold War, intelligence agencies like the CIA broadened the idea of espionage even more. They attempted to use the animal kingdom for espionage. There were birds used as photographers, cats with hidden equipment, dolphins that underwent surgical modification, and were trained for missions related to nuclear weapons. There were insects with tiny motors, robotic fish, and even detection devices disguised as animal droppings. The world of spy animals is truly not imaginary, it's something really unusual. In this video, we'll take a look at some of the most unbelievable and unusual projects the CIA developed using animals, based on their own declassified documents. But before we start, if you're new to our channel, please don't forget to subscribe so you'll always be updated with videos like this. That's it. Humans have been using animals as tools almost since the beginning of our existence. At first, it was for survival as food and shelter, and later on they became partners in work. They pulled carts, plowed fields, guarded homes, helped in hunting, carried messages, transported cargo and people, and many more. The same thing happened in the military field. Aside from the most well-known example, horses, which were a main part of almost every war until the 20th century, including the First World War, many other animals were used in war. There were war elephants used by empires like the Persian and Carthaginian, and even buffaloes with blades on their bodies used by the Indian Army in the 17th century to charge into the battlefield. When World War II came, animals were also there, from important roles like British pigeons that served as message carriers, to more intense examples like animals that helped transport ammunition for the Polish army, and the Soviet kamikaze dogs that were trained to run under German tanks with explosives attached to their backs. After this, in the height of the Cold War, spying on the enemy became crucial for survival, not just a strategy. And this is where a question came in that was as strange as it was interesting. Can animals be turned into perfect spies? Even though it seems laughable and absurd at first glance, it actually has logic. Animals are almost unnoticed. They can move freely, even in places that are tightly guarded with the latest technology without anyone suspecting a thing. No one would suspect a pigeon in the plaza, a cat peeking through the window, or a fish swimming near the pier. That's exactly what an intelligence agency seeks in a spy. In the 1960s, the CIA took action and launched some of the strangest projects in its entire history. So, let's start with the skies. Project Axiolite. In the mid-1960s, the CIA started Project Axiolite. Its mission was to train birds to carry surveillance devices like microphones and cameras to specific locations. They believed this could be an effective and almost undetectable way to listen in on conversations of enemy diplomats and military forces, even in public places or inside private rooms as long as there was a window. First, they carefully took their time finding the perfect bird for the mission. According to the project's declassified reports, they examined many possible options, but most were immediately ruled out for various reasons. Hawks are skilled at hunting and catching, but they can't carry heavy loads over long flights. They also often lose interest in the mission or get easily distracted. Owls are smart, but their vision suffers during the day, making them impractical and prone to getting lost. The cockatoo is too chaotic and unpredictable. They ultimately chose the crow. These birds are very intelligent, capable of using tools, solving puzzles, performing complex cognitive tasks, planning for the future, and they also have exceptional memory. But before you start thinking, it doesn't mean that keeping a crow as a pet is a good idea. The CIA focused on a crow called Doda. He was trained to be the perfect spy animal, able to fly long distances freely, follow an exact route, fly at the right altitude to adapt to the wind, recognize specific locations even in unfamiliar places, and defend himself against other birds attacking him while on a mission. He was even trained to recognize specific tables, open drawers, and carry heavy objects like folders and documents. Doda impressed the trainers so much that several pages in the CIA's declassified files were devoted to him. At that point, it was as if they were talking about the reincarnation of James Bond, not just a bird. After completing rigorous training, Doda was ready to start his spy career. In theory, his job was simple. The agent points to a window using a laser pointer, and Doda flies there carrying a small listening device in his beak. He will leave it there to record the conversation inside, then leave so as not to attract attention. He will just come back to retrieve the microphone after the meeting. But in the actual operation, things weren't that simple. There were times when he left the device at the wrong window. Sometimes the recorded sound was unusable due to surrounding noise. Usually it was a technical issue, not Doda. Sadly, this crow's spy career was brief. During a mission, Doda was ambushed by wild crows. There was a violent clash and he vanished. The CIA agents, their favorite bird. Eventually, Doda was declared killed in action while on a mission. In the report, there was an agent who wrote with obvious emotion, "Despite our deep sorrow, we understand that such tragedies are unavoidable." Operation Stingray. During the Cold War, espionage played a major role in obtaining detailed aerial photographs of military bases, nuclear facilities, and troop movements. Even though a lot was spent on satellites and U-2 spy planes, they still had their limitations. Satellites couldn't capture extremely clear details, while airplanes could be detected and shot down, causing serious diplomatic risks. In 1976, because of the need to get close and clear images of the Soviet nuclear shipyard in Leningrad, the CIA chose an unexpected solution: pigeons with cameras. Pigeons have long been proven to be one of the most important tactical assets throughout history, even during times of war. Due to their impressive navigation skills and homing ability, they have served as messengers since ancient times. Since ancient Egypt and the Roman Empire, pigeons have been used to deliver messages over long distances. During World War II, they played a very important role among the British forces, carrying critical information between battlefields even under extreme conditions. In fact, 32 pigeons were awarded medals for their service. Even earlier, in 1908, the Germans also used pigeons for espionage, particularly for taking aerial photographs of enemy positions. The CIA had a similar idea, but used more modern technology. To make the most of the pigeon's natural ability to navigate and fly, the CIA created miniature 16mm cameras that were specially designed to be carried while flying. These were attached to the pigeons' bodies using an adjustable leather harness with Velcro, so the birds could still fly freely without their balance being affected. Surprisingly, despite the camera's lightweight, it had small motors powered by batteries. The film roll advanced automatically, and the shutter clicked on its own. It worked using an internal timer and could take 150 to 220 photos in just a few minutes. The whole system weighed less than 40 grams, like a GoPro from the 1970s. After training, the pigeon was sent on long flights. But the results were not that good. Many of them got lost while wearing expensive equipment. Some were attacked by birds, while others were run over because they flew too low. Despite a few successes, the operation's success rate remains low. Even so, the CIA still decided to continue the mission because they were really desperate to get photos of the Soviet shipyard. The documents detail the plan for a top-secret operation in August 1978, in which an agent would secretly release the pigeons near Leningrad to reach the target. That's where the report stopped, with no details on whether it was carried out. Did the mission actually happen? That's why even now it's still unclear if the spy pigeons succeeded or failed. Thank you for Operation Acoustic, Kitty. In this project, as the name suggests, the CIA aimed to train cats as spies. The idea was to use them to secretly record conversations in public places, such as parks and benches and plazas, especially those of foreign diplomats. If you have a cat or have had one, you probably immediately thought about why this isn't a good idea. Cats are known for only doing what they want, when they want. So why were cats chosen and not a more obedient or easily trained animal? The answer to this isn't clear. Aside from the fact that cats are commonly seen in almost every plaza and don't attract much attention, there are rumors that the CIA chose this animal because the Soviets supposedly had a special fondness for cats. There's no solid evidence for this, but there are some photos of Vladimir Lenin with his pet cats. That's when Operation Acoustic Kitty began, a project even more invasive than the earlier ones. The selected cat had surgery to implant a microphone in its ear canal, a transmitter under its chest skin, and an antenna in its tail. According to the documents, the whole process was low risk, minimally invasive, and theoretically humane. However, it was quickly realized that the big problem was that the cats were not really cooperative. Even after training, if you put a cat in the plaza, there's a good chance it will just do whatever it wants and leave you to deal with it. According to the official version, they decided to stop the project at that point. The cats were never sent on an actual mission, and they were operated on again to remove all the technical equipment. But that's only the official story. After a few years, Victor Marchetti, former special assistant to the deputy director of the Central Intelligence Agency in the 1960s, revealed a completely different version. According to him, they didn't cancel the project at that time and even continued training the cat. Because it was easily distracted when hungry or excited, the technicians decided to implant some wires in its brain to suppress those impulses. This little Frankenstein cut was eventually sent on its first mission, and according to one account, the target was a Chinese diplomat in France. Others claimed the targets were two Soviet officials conversing near the Soviet Union Embassy in Washington, District of Columbia. Whoever the real target was, everyone agrees on one thing. The ending was tragic. As soon as the cat was released, it crossed the street and was hit by a taxi. At that point, it was assumed Operation Acoustic Kitty was finally ended, reportedly costing $20 million at the time, or over $270 million in 2026 dollars after inflation. Later on, the CIA denied this part of the story and insisted that Marchetti's statements were just a joke. However, the declassified documents also do not provide a clear answer. The only official file about Acoustic Kitty is almost completely redacted and full of censorship. Project Oxigas. It all started in 1964 when James Fitzgerald, a physicist and engineer, jokingly said at a party that dolphins could be used for military purposes. A Navy admiral heard this and didn't just ignore it. After a while, Fitzgerald was called to the CIA to begin the project. According to many rumors, the inspiration came from a popular television show called Flipper, which featured a friendly dolphin that solved crimes and helped people like a secret agent underwater. Dolphins are known for their high intelligence, ability to learn, and friendliness towards humans. Early tests of the CIA's plan showed promising results. They made harnesses and specialized structures that allowed dolphins to carry objects attached to their snouts, including so-called explosive devices. In one of the tests, a dolphin was even able to successfully attach a simulated charge to the propeller of a boat anchored in the middle of the sea. Because of this initial success, the team became even more excited and began to study more advanced applications, from leaving microphones on enemy nuclear submarines to retrieving secret materials in the open ocean. Even the United States Department of Defense began to openly collaborate with Project Oxigas. As their fear of expectations increased, their ambitions grew more absurd. They attempted to use dolphins with explosives to sink enemy ships. Some partially censored documents speculate about destructive weapons like mini-nuclear bombs, referring to this as the nuclear dolphin. But soon a major obstacle emerged. Dolphins, though intelligent, are unpredictable in open environments. When they're uncomfortable, they don't follow their trainer, and if something distracts them, whether it's hunger or simply the need to socialize, they abandon the mission. To make the dolphins more operational, the human handlers were forced to live with them for several weeks. And because of this, using them in real operations became even more complicated and impractical. At 1 o'clock, it became clear that the dolphins would not have a successful career as bombers. Because of this, the project's focus shifted to intelligence and espionage. The dolphins were trained to travel at least 20 kilometers to retrieve and return secret items or information left underwater by undercover agents. However, the same problems returned, which were the lack of discipline and concentration. After failing a key test in December 1967, it appeared the program was finally shut down. You might now wonder, what about Soviet intelligence? Didn't they try using spy animals? The answer to that is yes. The problem is there's a lack of official information to confirm and shed light on these projects. Nevertheless, it is believed that the Soviets also conducted extensive experiments using spy dolphins, particularly under a military program located in the Black Sea. There, marine mammals are trained for both defensive and offensive purposes. For example, in 2019, a beluga whale appeared in the waters of Norway wearing a custom-made harness with an attachment. The camera and device were labeled Equipment of St. Petersburg. This quickly raised suspicions, though it was never definitively proven to be a spy whale. As for the Central Intelligence Agency, by the 1970s, their fascination with using animals as spies seemed to gradually fade, although it never completely disappeared. The agency knew working directly with animals was hard, so they used the animals' looks and traits as camouflage. This is where some truly unique and remarkable ideas were born, like the robotic fish, the insectopter, a robotic dragonfly with a microphone, and other nature-inspired spy gadgets. During the Vietnam War, they even created a surveillance device designed to look like tiger droppings, so it wouldn't be noticed in the jungle. At first, they experimented using rat carcasses, hollowing them out and placing microphones or messages inside for other agents, then leaving them in public places. As you can see, the world of animal espionage is like a Disney movie, but more twisted, darker, and truly more terrifying. And honestly, it's not clear how far these kinds of programs still continue. It's believed that there are fewer now, but in the world of spies, you can never be 100% sure. So there's always a small possibility that your pet or the animals you see on the street or in nature are spies. Before we finish, let's revisit the question that has long troubled intelligence and espionage. How far will people go to get information? From birds with cameras to leasing devices and dolphins trained as weapons. History shows that when fear, power, and secrecy are combined, there are almost no limits to human imagination. These projects may seem ridiculous or straight out of science fiction, but remember, all of these are based on real documents and actual experiments. And even though it's said that these kinds of programs have long been discontinued, we can never say with absolute certainty how far modern espionage really goes. In a world of surveillance, AI, and advanced tech, methods evolve, but the goal stays the same: to observe unseen and listen undetected. So the next time you see an animal that seems to be doing nothing, a bird on the roof, a cat in the park, a creature under the sea, are you sure everything is normal? And if you enjoyed this kind of content, stories that are between history, secrets, and technology, you can support our channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing the video. That would be a big help so we can continue making more stories like this. So that's it for now. This is Noel Polo Television. Thank you.